Okay, my topic is entitled The Menopause. And the reason why I chose this title is because there's quite a few ladies who are having a difficult time. And so I thought it would be nice just to talk about what's going on inside, what hormones are involved, where they are in the body, and actually what they're going to be doing within the body. I start off by talking about what's going on during the childbearing years, and then what's going on during the menopause. And then I'll talk about just one symptom known as hot flushes, because that seems to be the common one. And then just talk about natural remedies and what can be done. So we'll start first of all in the brain, an area known as the hypothalamus, which is basically, if I turn myself to the side, is roughly here. And then we'll also be talking about the pituitary, which is roughly here, if you can see it clearly. So we'll start with the hypothalamus. This particular gland, it controls appetite, water, mood, weight, and temperature. And it produces two hormones. One is a release hormone that works on the follicles, and there's also a luteinizing releasing hormone. These then go to the pituitary gland, which, as I pointed to you earlier, is just below the hypothalamus. Now, this one, it actually produces a stimulating hormone of the same name, and this causes the ovaries to work. This causes the ovaries to work to produce little follicles, which are microscopic rings of cells. And these are known as eggs, basically. So, as these little eggs are developing, estrogen, vice versa. But in this case, it goes from thin to thick. Sorry, entry. It then makes the line, and then the fluid that's there becomes thicker so that there's no further entry. What happens then? The progesterone works on the fallopian tubes that causes the fallopian tubes to contract very forcefully, but not so often. So it does it in intermittent times. So it will do a forceful contraction for about 4 or 5 times, then stop, and then it will contract again. So what this contraction is actually doing is allowing the egg to be swept from the ovaries down into the fallopian tubes, down into the womb. And there it will stay in the hope to produce a baby. However, if this doesn't happen, then the fluid changes, it becomes yellow. So that's basically the luteinizing hormone breaking down. And so the discharge comes through the body as a monthly period. Now, during the menopause now, there's a slight difference. The follicle stimulating hormones, and they're still circulating in the bloodstream. And so what they'll do is go to the ovaries through the blood and say, look, can you produce some more follicles? But by this time, the ovaries have run out of eggs, and so therefore cannot produce any more eggs. And so the pituitary gland then takes over and says, okay, I'm going to stimulate the adrenal glands to take over the job, because these hormones are still circulating in the bloodstream. They no longer have the ovaries as a target organ. So the adrenals take over and allows the hormones to circulate around the bloodstream. So where does the estrogen go, I hear you ask? Well, it goes into the bones to help build them up and make them strong. It also helps to nourish the tissues. It also helps with, it helps to build up the tissues, and also it balances cholesterol. Another thing it does, it nourishes the circulation, and it also increases skin elasticity. This one basically means it keeps the wrinkles at bay. The progesterone at this point doesn't do much because it's very much involved in pregnancy. And so it basically just loses its role. But it does have an effect in that it helps to balance the amount of estrogen. So therefore, if there's not enough estrogen, which is what happens at the menopause, this hormone tends to start to lower. And then as it's lowering, the temperature control changes. So the body can no longer regulate the temperature as efficiently as it used to. So what happens? The woman experiences what is known as the hot flushes. She gets extremely hot. It rises from the neck and going upwards, or right from the feet, right to the top of the head. Some can be very severe. Some can be short in duration, and some can last a lifetime. Another reason is because those follicle stimulating hormones and the luteinizing hormone, both of these that work on the ovaries, they don't really have much of a job to do. And so they're trying to find a target organ. And as a result of them circulating along with the adrenaline, it's causing a temperature rise. So what we do now, we talk about how to overcome these uncomfortable symptoms. Well, there's a wholesome diet. There is exercise. There's the reduction in refined sugars like cakes, biscuits, sweets. If these are eaten, there's almost an immediate rise in temperature. And another thing that can be done is a reduction in stress. As far as is possible, we can't run away from stress, and not all stress is negative. So we just have to keep things in balance, which is why temperance is so important. And another thing that we could do is have more me time. Us women, we run around too much, far too much to do on our endless to-do list. And so as we go through our lives, we make sure that we have a balance between work, rest, and play. It's also important to have a flexible daily routine and establish a regular bed and rising time as much as is possible, shift work allowing. And so it's hoped that if we follow these, along with natural juices, along with talking to a friend or to a loved one, and basically praying through the situation, reading God's word, there's much that can be done in these spiritual arenas that will help with the menopause. God bless you all. And that's the end of my talk. Thank you.